Well, as you know, flying is 95% boredom and 5% terror. So if you're on a long haul somewhere and not much is going on, you can kind of look out the window and daydream and just make a few notes. There's no actual writing done during that period of time. That's frowned upon. But
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fireside Writer. I'm here with Chris CJ Kudlacz, and he's a fellow writer, a fellow military brat, right? And we're excited to talk to him about his writing process and what got him into writing in the first place. And I'm reading here in this great research I did, Chris, that you are a voiceover actor, a stage actor. You worked even as a bartender. So you've traveled the world flying around. You flew military jets for a long time. Now you fly civilian aircraft. So, Chris, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the channel, and thanks for being here. And if you would like to read anything by Chris, we'll talk about this some more later. Here's his book, Bat Out of Hell. He is one of the featured storytellers inside of it. Um, but yeah, Chris, welcome.
no, thanks. Great to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, Chris and I met at Killer Nashville in 2022, I think. That was
Sounds
a
about
long
right.
time ago. Yeah, he was standing outside. I think you were just standing outside in the air from the from the craziness inside, and I walked outside because I was nervous because I was about to go meet an agent, and so we chatted for a while. And I was wearing my Navy pin on my jacket, and so that's when he said, "Hey, do you fly planes?" And you told me about your background, and that's how we sort of met. So there are
Right
some
on.
good things that comes out of these writing conferences, despite some of the things I've had to say about them. So, Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for sitting through that long intro. Um, so yeah, how did you go from flying airplanes, from your voiceover, your stage work, to now you're writing books?
I think I've always kind of been had that frustrated artist aspect to me. I think you can probably relate. You want to do certain things, but the real world sets in, and if you want to pay for college, you join ROTC and things like that, and it just kind of puts you on a train that doesn't make things particularly accessible early on, but you find outlets as you go. I think the voiceover work. I did a lot of theater in college, and one of my instructors said that I had a voice for radio and a personality for silent film. So that was very nice of him. I think that
Yeah,
just that blurb you read at the start is kind of just the ways that I went through life that kind of collected. Uh, I one of the things I tell people all the time in the airplane is I don't have any good stories about myself, so I steal them from other people. So you meet all these characters as you go, especially in theater and then the military, and flying planes has proven to be just as lucrative, just as fertile a ground, I suppose, to just to meet people and figure out how to tell stories. And obviously, the bartending aspect is, you know, some reason they want to talk to you about whatever. So it's flying an airplane for 4 hours at a time is just another form of that kind of confessional aspect where a lot of people overshare and just kind of sparks your imagination about, what if this had gone this way, or what if something else had been different about this, and you can kind of spin it off into fiction. As you know, one of the gags in the military is, that's every story has to be 10% true, right? I don't know if the Navy does the same thing, but as long as it's 10% true, you can spin it the rest of the way and hopefully make something cool out of it.
yeah, I hadn't heard the 10% rule. Um, Navy, we're always 100% true in everything we tell
Of
each other
course,
in
of
our
course,
stories.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things we talk about on the channel a lot is how your background fuels your writing, and so I think that with you and all the theater, and the voiceover stuff could definitely play into how you frame the projects as you draft them. Just maybe not consciously thinking of them, but they have to have influenced the way you write. Have you found that there's any kind of particular thing you pull from either the military or any of your other civilian jobs that you sort of recognize that you influence your writing?
I think just being open to, as you're no doubt noticing, I don't talk very often. I think that there's a lot of people who want to talk, and a lot of people who talk over their people. And I, even in the my earliest flying jobs, I would, when given a choice, I would like to fly with certain people who talk more often than others. That took the pressure off of me.
Yeah.
So those guys would kind of vent their stories to me, and you'd always learn something different. There's one guy who's told me the same story 4 times, and the third time he told me he got maced by a guy at the end of it, which I had never heard before. So it's always great to kind of rediscover that sort of thing. So I think just being open to what other people have to say, and not necessarily need to transmit all the time. I'm more content to just kind of listen to what's going on. I think that's not unusual to most writers. The average writer is alone in the dark with a keyboard, as they say, and just kind of introverts in general. But it's kind of taught me to go out and seek those people, and just a few techniques as far as how to tell me more, that sort of thing, as opposed to shutting them down or that reminds me of time about me. But like I said, my stories aren't particularly interesting. Kind of a boring guy.
I don't know if you're selling yourself too well by saying your stories aren't that interesting.
Well, always under promise, right?
Yeah, under promise, over deliver. I want to talk about this Bat Out of Hell book. You're you're listed on on the cover of it,
Way down at the bottom, yes,
CJ.
sir.
Way down the bottom, right there with Andrew Child, and I think I messaged you this that Heather Graham it's a different Heather Graham, right?
It's a different
Than the
Evergreen.
one. Okay, but she's a well-known writer in the writing circles. But
Hundreds of
this,
books, yeah.
your story, I was rereading it again before this interview. I read it a while ago when it came, I think before it came out, and
Yeah,
um, it's like a psychological sort of exploration of the character.
right.
And are, are those thoughts you have in your own head? Where did that come
Of
from?
course. um, that was a funny one. My agent at the time had asked if I'd ever done short stories, and I said no, and they said, "Well, go do one." So I got on Google and I typed "how to write a short story?" question mark, and it went from there. One of the just the aspects of growing up in different places is that I've every 2 years on the average I moved, so it was and then especially as a young kid, you'd want to get as deep into that place as you could to some sort of attempt to make it home. So I've absorbed a lot of different settings. This one was from my high school days. My last 2 years of high school were in absolute northern Maine. Limestone, occasionally you will see on a weather map, but it's way up there, about 6 hours north of the border. But other than that, it just kind of came out strangely. I've got a great family, and I've never had an abusive home life. Like, this kid is just a mess. Um, but I think it's just you take some of those tropes and you kind of spin how you might react in that situation. The one knock I do receive occasionally on Jake Mills, is the protagonist of this book, is that he's a little older than, or he reads a lot older than he is, and I could take that, but you could also, this guy's been to juvenile detention. He's been knocked around his whole life, so that does age people a lot faster than you are, and he does have that friend who provides him with books, and he reads a lot. So I think that some of that literary aspect kind of wears or rubs off on his perspectives.
Yeah, his perspectives, his vocabulary. Um,
Correct.
yeah, well, yeah. So where can we find the book?
Bad Out of Hell. It's on Amazon. There's a new Reacher story. It's kind of the big deal for that. I'm just happy to be a roadie for these guys. It was nice to be not left on the cutting room floor. But it's on Amazon. You can get it directly at Blackstone Books. They used to have I'm not sure if it's still there, but they were offering a signed copy. But I think they couldn't get the heavy lifters all together in the same room. I was happy to travel wherever to sign the book. But anyway, so if you have ordered it from Blackstone and they've sent you an email saying that that's no longer available, they do have the regular version available. The audiobook I haven't listened to yet. I do have it, but I'm told it's really good. So I'm not a big audiobook guy, but I want to check this one out for selfish reasons, of course.
Yeah, I'll check it out too. I'm a big audiobook guy, and I read this one in paper, so it'll be interesting to hear it. Um, so yeah, you mentioned briefly that your former agent. So you had an agent, and
Yep.
no longer. You're
Nope.
are you in the query trenches again, looking for an agent? Do you want to talk about it all? What happened with the former agent?
No, that's the big thing is that you start a relationship and you don't really know each other. So one way or the other, that's sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I think we just both decided that we were kind of looking for different things. As far as that goes, I'm definitely, certainly querying right now. I sent five, I think, maybe an hour ago, right before I got on. It's as you know, it's a mess. You get online and you find somebody and you think that their description's a perfect match, and you don't hear anything back, or you hear that they're not a match, and so it's kind of this almost a perverse dating rejection type scenario. I'm like, oh, you look nice. You want to talk? No. Okay, cool. Well, maybe next time. But
Yeah, it's
yeah, I've got 3 books going out, and it's just a query tracker. If you haven't done that, I'm sure you're familiar, TJ. But that's a great way of keeping everything straight because I'm super disorganized. And last thing you want to do is send the same book to somebody 3 times.
yeah. Query Tracker is a great tool. I use it. I use it too. It was yeah. I also have former agent. It's hard getting back into the query trenches after finally landing one and thinking
Yeah,
you're set, and
sigh
then when
of
your books
relief.
sigh of relief, and then it's over. And my agent similarly also told me to start writing short stories. So I wrote a short story, and then I sent it to her, and she said it's really good, but I was thinking of something different. So you can't do
Was
anything
that the
with this.
cozy?
That's the cozy. So for
Right.
you, and everybody else listening, you can go to my website now, tjstecker.com, and you can download the Die Nothing group. It's
Right.
for free, and so you can
Well,
go
fun.
check it out. Yeah. So yeah,
What,
that was the cozy.
what was she looking
She
for?
she was looking for, as she said, something that screen ready,
Okay.
something similar to that, under certain amount of certain word count, under like 5,000 words.
All right.
So that's what I wrote. It wasn't what she was looking for.
Wrote what I wrote.
Yeah, it's fun times. It's well, anyway, it's free. It's a free book up now, and
Yeah,
which
it's
isn't
great
as good
read.
as, yeah, it's not as
I
good as
enjoyed it.
having a book for sale. Being a published author, you're a published author now, Chris. I
Mm,
think that's
thank you.
pretty awesome. I don't think I get to say I'm an author until I'm published.
Yeah, it's that line between writer and author, right?
Yeah,
I don't
I
get too
did
mixed
enter
up
a
with it.
I entered a library contest in Virginia and came in second, and they published a book of it to like just the entrance got their own copy of it.
Count it.
So technically, I'm counting it.
Count it.
Okay, so you have 3 books out now on Query Tracker. Is that three? You've written 3, or you've written more than 3?
Written 3. I've got maybe 60% of another, and just a skeleton of one more. So those are the 3 that I finished.
All right, are they all in the same kind of, I guess,
No,
horror, psychological?
no, that's my. I don't know. My I finished the first one and got picked up right away, and then that went out for submissions to publishers. I asked the wife, "Well, what do I do now? Should I write a sequel to that one?" She's like, "No. What if nobody likes it? You should write something different." So, well, thanks for that. But she was right. Right or wrong, right? I've got 2 sequels already outlined for the first book I wrote, but the other 2
Mm,
are just uh, trying to just diversify, I guess. One's a detective story. The first one was a detective story with some supernatural elements to it. The second one's just a straight psychological thriller, mistaken identity. A lot of there's a little tinge of maybe speculative science fiction toward the end. kind of a mad scientist aspect there. So it gets a little more traditionally thriller in that respect. Um, and then the third one's just a straight up mystery. There's some psychological aspects to it, but it's a group of six kids who were at a bad orphan camp. It's a kind of a religious cult, and then after the camp falls apart, the pastor goes to prison, and then 15 years later he dies, and they come back together to kind of pick up the pieces, figure out what went on. He dies suspiciously, so and that's just about all the trauma and distrust that they have for each other as based on that. So more of a mystery who done it, but there's a whole, as you know, there's psychology and everything. Just putting two characters in a room and figuring out what they had to talk about, or six in this case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that one. I like that one. I read it. It's dark, but not in a traditional sense. More in the mind sense, not in
Right.
the I guess the horror, traditional
Yeah.
horror sort of trappings.
Right. And horror's big. I wish I could write it
Yeah.
better. Um, I think that's something that I need to look into because I think half the author or half the agents that are vaguely qualified or vaguely interested in something like what I have is like looking for speculative horror. So
Horror's so interesting because it, I always put it into a pretty small little bucket of what I consider horror. But then you read Stephen King, who's considered horror, and he's completely
all
expanded
over.
the
Yeah.
entire realm of what horror
Right.
can be. And so it's hard to know when you see somebody has a best selling horror novel out. Is it horror as you think? Like, it's not like Dracula. It's, it's whatever they're considering horror. So it's an
Yep.
interesting. Um, Now you've got three books out. Will you consider ever self publishing?
All
If
the
the Yeah,
time. All the time. Uh, I was at a conference in New York, maybe about a year and a half ago, and I just ran into somebody in line, and actually we were at the same panel, and it was about putting together a good pitch. So I figured, well, this is kind of up my alley. And she ran up after the session was over and asked the moderator if she would read the pitch, and the moderator reacted really positively. And on our way out, I said, "Hey, you mind if I take a look?" And super good. Uh, I got goosebumps. I was like, "Hey, look at my arms."
yeah,
Um, and we kind of started talking and kept in touch. But she's just kind of a career creative writing teacher, editor, that sort of thing. And her perspective on the industry is just light years ahead of mine, obviously. And she said something like it 2 years ago, I would have, or 5 years ago, I would have told you to never self-publish. A needle in a haystack. Nobody's ever going to find you. You need the backup that an agency and a publisher is going to put together for an agent and an author. And then she said, well, and then a year ago, I would have told you to self-publish because those guys were the only people that were really making money on their work. And then now she says AI is just blown everything up and nobody knows what to do. So we're kind of in this weird, waiting for the dust to settle type of area. I don't know. Collab Publishing's out there. I know a couple guys who've had reasonable success with that, but I think right now I'm just I want to put up with this for another year or so and see what happens. I know you're leaning towards it. You just announced, right, that you're going to give it
yeah.
what,
I'm,
8 months,
I'm,
something
I'm
like
gonna,
that.
yeah, I'm gonna publish Redacted. It's gonna come out in the fall.
Okay,
I
awesome.
just decided I announced it in the newsletter, but I haven't. The video is coming out about it. But
Okay,
um, yeah, just I got tired of waiting.
yeah. It's is are you is it all you? Is there
Well,
a collab that
yeah,
you're working with, or
it's all me. I'm using professionals I found on Reedsy. So I've got a
okay,
cover designer right now working on the
great,
cover. He did covers for James Patterson. And I've got a I have my queries out to the developmental, or not developmental, copy editors. So they're going to let me know, give me some quotes. I'll get the copy edit, and then it's really all about getting it formatted. I'm going to go through all this in the on the channel. We're going to talk about my entire self publishing journey.
Okay.
But
I'll be there.
um, yeah,
Teach
but
me.
yeah, that's where yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited just to get the book out there. So I'm going to put Redacted out this fall, and then probably The Moth in the spring.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so
What's
no
the
team.
what's the you I don't know, you may or may not want to include this, but what's the bill on something like that? Do you have a
It's
budget
going to
for?
be, yeah, I've got a budget. I'm going to make it all public when I have the actual figures.
Okay.
But it's definitely, I mean, the main draw for me at this point, just to for traditional publishing, is just for them to cover the costs.
Right.
But the big costs are the cover art, and probably the editing. There's not much editing left needed to be done, and then the formatting. I can either try and figure out to do myself, or I could pay somebody to do that. But then it's really about marketing and getting the book out, which
Right.
I found. This is one of the sort of hidden things about traditional publishing, is that I went into it, and maybe you did too, assuming I'm going to get this book, I'm going to get traditionally published, and then the publishing house is going to market my book and sell it for me. It seems that that's not really the case anymore. That even if you're traditionally published, you still have to do the majority of the marketing for your own book. So once I sort of realized that, I didn't really see the upside other than the initial
Right.
costs, and I get to keep my rights. Um,
Yes. It's a
so
big deal.
those are some of the thoughts that I have going into self publishing. But
You
it's
make
really about, yeah,
an interesting case.
yeah. But I don't think the first. I think the first book would definitely probably be a loss leader. But it's a series, so maybe by book 10, I'll be in the black.
Yeah. And you got the military angle to it, which is just huge. There's at least okay. Well, of those guys, how many read? I don't know. I think every third guy I fly a long trip with has a book going. So, you know,
Well, that's to get on the Commodore, or the Commodore of the Marine Corps reading list, and then they'll have to read it, or at
there you
least
go.
buy it.
Brilliant.
Or sorry, it's Commandant, not Commodore. I'm thinking of the Navy.
Maybe sure. Um,
Um,
yeah. The and the nonfiction is chugging along. Looks like.
yeah, my nonfiction is that one I am querying to get traditionally published. Though I tell you what,
Yeah.
the nonfiction querying, which I started 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, that really that really was the tripwire that said I'm just going to self publish the 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 fiction books, because I'm so frustrated right now in the query trenches. I mentioned this to you, is that I'm getting immediate responses to my query. They love the pitch, and then they see what my platform is, and they're not.
Okay.
I'm getting specific responses saying that you don't have enough platform for me to sell this nonfiction book. It's not like it's a celebrity memoir. It's a specific, period of time talking about an incident that happened.
Right.
Interestingly, I happened to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, which I never listened to, but he had this guy on who he was an undercover FBI agent for like 25 years, and he just sold his book, and it's just about his time as an undercover FBI agent. There's no way that guy had a platform. He was an undercover FBI agent, yet he sold his nonfiction book, and he's doing great because they're pushing him. He's getting all
Right.
this publicity. He's selling his books. I know it can be done. So I'm trying to get the nonfiction traditionally published. We'll see if that happens. But it really just made me so upset with the publishing world that I just pulled the trigger. Um, I'm going to self-publish my fiction books.
Yeah. I think about that all the time. It's the the same argument about and it's not AI necessarily, but it's just technology, right? You talk about the real estate world where do we really need agents? Um,
Yeah.
and I've had a couple people uh, that one gal that I talked to who's been doing this for 20 years from one aspect to another is like nobody knows what's going to happen next. So maybe you're ahead of the curve there. Um,
I don't know. The AI
I've read
scares
some
me.
I've read some really good self. I mean, I've been a lot of crap, but some really good self-published stuff on Amazon. Just sorting through the $1, $2 bin. Obviously, we want to get higher than that, but the first taste is free, as they say. So
Yeah.
who knows? Sky's the limit. And
Well, I
yeah,
think it
AI is a mess. It's scary.
what that's what that's the other hook I still had for traditional publishing is at least you had somebody vouching for you that this book is
Right.
good enough and is not AI. So
Mhm. It's and I think that's really what I'm clinging to, right? Is that I just I just got a request for a full from an agent yesterday, a couple days ago, and I hadn't looked at the manuscript in maybe 6 months, so I went in there and I pulled 500 words out. I added 200 other words, read the whole thing again. I was like, this is pretty good. Um, so you just want something, like you said, you want somebody else to say, I agree. Let's make this a thing. But outside of me and my mom and you liking it, I don't know if it can get much better. So we can
yeah,
just maybe send it out there and let the market decide. I think that's obviously the big issue with agents. I mean, right now, the only thing they all have in common is that none of them have time to read your book. So they may miss a couple, or they may be looking for one specific thing, or that bio that they put up 2 years ago hasn't changed, and they're not looking for that book anymore. So it's definitely a guessing game. It's throwing stuff out there, and hopefully something hits. But yeah, it's that whole gonna bet on yourself thing eventually, right?
I think that's the plan for me at least for right now. It's funny. I was back in Query Tracker for the nonfiction book, and I started going to all my same websites that I was going to back when I was querying, and I was clicking on everybody's manuscript wish list, which I used to do all the time. And the
Right.
site still exists, but not a single agent that I went to had anything on manuscript wish list. So I don't know if that site's dead or not. I don't know if you've even seen that website or
Yeah, I've been on it fairly. It's hit or miss. I think maybe 60%. The older, more established agents, I think, don't update it as much. You can almost always, if Query Tracker gives you Jim Smith Publishing and you click on his link to, you know, Jim's got 8 agents working for him, and you click on his manuscript wish list link, it's going to be blank. There's nothing
yeah.
there. Um, a lot of those folks, I mean, I got a reply from one who was like, I don't have time to look at anything, which was great, right? So
Yeah.
maybe honest. It seemed honest, but yeah. So I think the younger agents are the ones who are, or the newer agents, I should say, who are more actively looking for things. Or it saves them time, right? So somebody puts up there that I don't want any military guys querying me, I can go, okay, well,
Yeah.
I won't waste my time. She won't have to waste hers, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it's nothing's perfect, and that could definitely be better.
Do you find so you've I mean, we met at a conference. That's also the only conference I've been to. I would go to more, but I can't really do that right now.
Yeah,
You go to conferences. Do you find they're helpful?
I have. The first one was kind of validating, just to get out there and talk to your peers and compare some of the other samples that are out there and say, hey, all right, this is my stuff can hang with these guys. And then you get some interest from an agent who doesn't blow you out of the water immediately face to face and say, all right, send me this. And I did obviously got an offer of representation out of that, which was great. But and then you meet people. I'm not great at meeting people. You had a pen and a really cool beard, so that was my opener there. So thanks for that. But it does tend to get toward the diminishing returns the more you go to. Um, a lot of the panels get hijacked by people in the crowd asking the same questions, and
Yeah.
to their credit, the people up front are too nice to say, "All right, this isn't about suspense writing right now. This is actually about authentic settings. So can we leave the how to get an agent discussion for the how to get an agent discussion panel?" So there's a lot of that as you see repeated, and I don't know. It's good to get out there and kind of get your finger on the pulse of what's going on. But man, there's so much stuff out there that's just you can't keep track of it all. Listen to this friend that I met, and I think that's a great benefit there is that you'll meet people who know way more stuff than you do,
Hmm.
and whether they're making it up or not, it's it's just good to learn anything about the industry because there's just so much there you can't possibly absorb it all.
Yeah. I found it was nice to at least put some faces, or that there's humans behind the internet wall that we're querying to. It was nice
Yeah,
to actually meet some people, and then seeing, like you said, our peers, and just
yeah,
getting.
for sure. It's sending queries into the void. It's soul crushing, right? It's because no matter how automated it is, cut and paste all that, you still got to find them. You got to look at their website and make sure that they're looking for the same thing that when you put them on a list even a month ago to make sure you're not making any errors and things like that. But the flip side of that is I've gone to what they call Pitch Fest in New York at Thriller Fest 2 times now, and the second time I started to find that I think I got actually told no thanks by 2 people out of 11 that I talked to. Of the 9, I didn't hear back from any of them. So
Wow.
it is nice to meet face to face and kind of make a connection. I mean, this one agent, man, I thought we were going to be best friends. It's like, oh, I'm making all these notes, and I sent a query and nothing. So uh, it's an investment in time and money to go to these things, and I think everybody should do it once or twice. There's like I said, we talked about horror. I want to go to StokerCon. It's the big horror
Hmm.
festival. I want to go to that one just to because there's I used like you said, Stephen King and Dean Koontz. Growing up reading those guys early on, man, that was great. But I think current horror isn't having the same amount of same effect on me. So whether that's me just being a jaded adult or if everything's been done, but there's been a few horror books that I've read that have been like woo, but like designing that from whole cloth or from what I've read in the past, it seems kind of derivative. So I'd need to figure out how to do something different. So that'd be cool to go see what the modern horror writers are doing. Check that out. But yeah, I think everybody should do it. But it's you know pick your poison as far as less money and less feedback, or feedback that might just be because they're trying to be a nice person, or they like your beard or whatever else.
Yeah. There's bad at rejection.
Yeah, right. Everybody is.
So, are you finding there's new books out now that you're really enjoying, that you're picking up, that you just can't put down? Or are you still? I'm sort of stuck. I'm occasionally branching out, but it's mostly I'm going back to my old favorites repeatedly. I'm reading Michael Connelly's books
Yeah,
that I've read 7 times. I'm reading them again. Have you found
yeah.
that there's new books out there for you?
They're new to me.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't necessarily look for specifically current stuff, which makes comp titles like my biggest
Yeah.
nightmare. Like, oh, what is this comparable to within the last 3 months? And so it's I think it's 5 years at the cutoff, and even that I'm bad at. But no, I'm kind of the same. I'm a big fantasy reader, which is
Mm.
strange, right? But I talked about derivative. I don't think I could possibly come up with anything that somebody hasn't already thought of in the fantasy space that doesn't sound like parody. Moorcock was another 70s fantasy writer that a buddy of mine sent to me, and I was like, it just seemed like a doll. I've heard all this before, but he was actually first, so you gotta give
Yeah.
him credit there. But no, that's interesting. What was quite new stuff? I think they're just kind of spin off out of comps, which is super cynical right now. Like you get on the website and you're like, well, I've got a camp with cultists and what's like that, and then you got to go read that book to make sure there's nothing totally different, or if it's at least close. So I do pick up some of those. A friend of mine is from Italy. He's got this English horror writer that he like Alex North, I think is his name.
Mm.
He wrote a book called The Shadows, which was really cool. So I like that one. Nothing like what I have, but and then like you said, man, I just go back. I just read Dennis Lehane's detective novels. I get this first that Gennaro and
Mm.
forget that. They made
Patrick
Gone Baby
Kenzie.
Gone was the movie, yeah, and so those are fantastic. You talked to me about Connolly. I'd only read a couple of his, so those are constantly getting picked up by my library app and returned when I don't have time to read them, and I go grab it, get in line again and wait for 3 weeks, and then try to remember what's going on. But yeah, that whole Bosch series is fantastic.
Yeah. There's a new Bosch book coming out. It's just I'm pretty
All
excited
right,
about because he's got a new series that I'm not a big fan of.
it's got
It's
three of them, right?
well, he's got Lincoln
There's
Lawyer,
a
he's got Bosch, he's got Ballard,
there's a yeah, the female
and he had the
CFBI.
yeah. And no, she's also LAPD, but
Okay,
he also had Terry McCaleb, who was FBI former profiler, but now he's got a new sheriff out on Catalina Island. But
okay.
it's kind of
Oh,
bland.
wow.
But you sparked something. You said that you were reading a lot. Or you're reading a lot of new stuff because of the comp titles, and I just made me think of something. I was back when I was querying. I was picking up comp titles to read, and so I was reading one. I got about halfway through. I said, "Oh, this is perfect." And I put it in my query, and I sent it out to a bunch of agents. And then I finished the book, and I'm like, "I hate this book. This book is the worst book I've ever read. The ending was the worst possible thing. It might have been
Oh no, what have I
comparable to
done?
it might have been comparable to my book, and it sold fine, I'm sure. But I was like, I can't believe I even associated my book with that book. So you're right. Finish the title before you put it into your
Right.
query.
I don't know. I'm told it's like it can be 800 things like tone or
Yeah.
voice, things like that. You're not supposed to say noir anymore, I guess, because noir doesn't sell. But I don't know. A couple of my favorite authors initially were, just basically detective noir stuff. I mean, you got like James Ellroy, obviously, and Charlie Houston's a huge influence for me. So kind of that sparse, tell it like it is dialogue. I
So
hadn't
I
even
did.
written dialogue. That was kind of my first hurdle. I can't write a book. I can't write dialogue. And then, oh, just talk like people talk.
Yeah. Talk like people
Worked out
talk.
all
That's about the only thing I could write when I started was dialogue.
right. It turns out, yeah,
Find you. So, Chris, thanks for
yeah,
joining me. Where can people find
certainly.
you? Where can they go to sign up? Do you have a newsletter?
I
Where can
do.
people hunt you down?
Yeah, it's, I got the letters right there in the corner, cjkudlacz.com. And I am on Instagram as CJ Kudlacz as well. Don't post much these days because the snow isn't falling. I'm mostly yep, riding again, or yep, skiing again. Occasionally, we're starting college searches for my oldest child, which is super annoying. But yeah, so Instagram, I got some stuff on there. And then that's about it. I don't do the artist formerly known as Twitter. And there's a Facebook page, but doesn't do much there either. But yeah, cjkudlacz.com. You can find the book on Blackstone on Amazon. And there is a newsletter sign up on CJ Kudlacz as well. So once you go onto that website, an annoying pop up will come and say, "Hey, join my newsletter," and hopefully in one of these months I'll have better news.
That sounds good. I just thought of something. What's your so you're flying a lot and you're staying in hotels. Is that pretty much when you write? When do you write? What's your process?
Process is a mess. Definitely hotels. You do. Sometimes you go out with the crew, but it's about 50-50. So it just depends on how much time you have. The first novel, like many people's first novel, was during COVID while I was cracking the whip during kids' online school. I would write for an hour and then make sure they were on to the next class and come back and write for an hour. But yeah, there's a lot of that. I used to carry a notebook around, which was a huge pain because you'd lose the pen or you'd lose the notebook. But cell phones have made it a whole lot easier. You've got any number of way to keep notes. As you know, flying is 95% boredom and 5% terror. So if you're on a long haul somewhere and not much is going on, you can kind of look out the window and daydream and just make a few notes. There's no actual writing done during that period of time. That's frowned upon. But yeah, it's mostly just hotel time. When I'm at home, the kids are at school, that sort of thing. Because I don't have a set schedule when I'm at home, which is kind of nice. So it does make routine difficult. So I'll go for a couple days without writing anything. And right now I'm just kind of in that, I'm in the query hell right now with sending 3 different books, 3 different places. So I am retooling the first one to kind of, lessons learned, right? I wrote it 5 years ago. It's time to go back and give it another pass. And I think I've got a first chapter now that hits a lot harder than the original one. So since everybody's just looking at your first 5 pages, right? That's
Right.
better make them good.
That's good. You're sending that one that's the one that you had the agent with,
Correct.
right? And so that's already been out to some publishers?
I think I went out to 6. It's
Okay.
and and in order to send it back out, you got to do a massive rewrite, which I'm
Yeah.
doing. So I'm gonna rewrite the majority of it. I've already cut, I think, 60 pages that were just, one of the things they talk about for rookie writers is that we all start in the wrong place. So I've got like 60 pages of backstory that I just went straight to the incident, which is also making it difficult to kind of layer the characters. So it's going to take me a while to fix that one the way it needs to be. So put a new title on it. Put the caveat on there that it's been sent out. It's been represented before, but very briefly and with a totally different skeleton. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, cool. Well, good luck.
Thank you,
Yeah.
and you.
And yeah, thank you. And this is Fireside Riders. Thanks for tuning in. And until I see you next time, see you by the fire.